going on, guys? It's Jalem, and on Instagram you know me as Metal School. This is my first record review, and the first one we're doing is this band right here, Exodus, with their debut album, Bonded by Blood. And some history behind this album: I think it was recorded in 1984 and released a couple months after that in 85 on Combat/Tord Records. And up until this point, I think Gary Holt wasn't playing guitar for that long. I know Kirk Hammett taught him, but it doesn't really show that he wasn't playing guitar for a long time, because all the stuff on here is so catchy and just like really good with his partner in crime, Rick Hunolt. I feel like their guitar work on this album is just unforgettable, really good and really legendary. All the instruments complement each other on this album, and it's just a classic for that reason. And we have the lineup on here with, on vocals we have Paul Baloff, on guitar we have Rick Hunolt, other guitar we have Gary Holt, who is still in the band to this day. We have Tom Hunting on drums, who is also still in the band, and Rob Mckillop on bass. And he just so happens to be one of my favorite bass players, just because whenever he's following the guitar, when it comes to a progression, he does these fills and these random grooves that I've never seen any other bass player do other than David Ellefson and Gene Simmons. But with Gene, he only does like his bass slides, and David Ellefson and Rob Mckillop obviously do a more technical groove than he would. As we get into the album, we get into the first song, which is the title track of this album, Bonded by Blood. There's nothing really to say about this song. I mean, it's just classic. The riffs just stick with you. The vocals and the lyrics stick with you. Everything in this song is just, everyone knows this song. I mean, when it comes to thrash, this is one of those songs that everyone knows, bangs their head to, knows the lyrics to, especially in the chorus. Just great song overall. Second song, we have the song Exodus. Really great song as well. I mean, when it comes to albums that have tracks that just follow really thoroughly and in order, and you don't get bored listening to this album, because every song just is catchy and it just hooks you in and doesn't stop until the album ends. And for that reason, personally, I like when albums do that, because there's not a whole lot of albums out there for me where I could listen to each and every single track and not get bored and have to skip over a song. The third song we have is And Then There Were None. A really great song as well. When it comes to that opening riff, I always think of this footage on YouTube of them doing soundcheck during 85. I don't know if they're like at Studio 54 or like at Dynamo or whatever, but I just think of that footage whenever I hear this song. Really good song too. Number 4, we have A Lesson in Violence. Really good song as well. But on this first side, I don't skip over it, but it's probably my least favorite on the first side. Only because it doesn't stick with me as well as the rest of the songs do on this first side. And that's all I'm going to say. But it's still a good song overall. I mean, just classic. And the last one on this side, we have Metal Command, which is probably my favorite song on this whole album for 2 reasons. The first one being, I've always been a fan of bands doing the whole the metal community is united, or they're like an army, or they'll fight together, stuff like that, like Metallica did with Metal Militia. This is their Metal Militia. Really awesome song. I like the fact that the song doesn't have an intro, which I like songs that have intros, don't get me wrong, but this one, it just starts with all the instruments they all end together as well, and they just keep at the same pace throughout the entire song. And when we flip the album over, we get the next song, which is Piranha. Really good song as well, and I respect this song for a couple of reasons. The first one being, at this time, you didn't see a whole lot of bands taking on different themes. I mean, a lot of bands at this time were still doing the same things when it came to like politics, war, killing, Satan, leather and chains, stuff like that. You didn't see a whole lot of bands talking about sea life, but they still kept within the norm, I guess you could say, at this time, which is a killer fish, which is still pretty cool in my opinion. Next song we have No Love. Starts out with the whole clean guitar and then gets into the main riff, progresses, and then it gets into the gallopy riff and ends with that one. Really good song, really classic too. Then we get to the longest song on this album, which is 7 minutes, and it's Deliver Us to Evil. So when it comes to No Love and Deliver Us to Evil, bear with me here. When it comes to the Zetro era, I feel like this was the start of that. They're really progressive songs, No Love and Deliver Us to Evil. And I say that because with the songs before it on this album, they kind of kept with the same 2 or 3 riffs. With these ones, they had a couple of more riffs in there, but they were actually constant. They flowed together. Not to say that they didn't flow together, but they actually did flow together. And they used different riffs that kind of resemble riffs that you would hear on Fabulous Disaster, with the same type of chord progression, which is pretty cool in my opinion. It's just like a sneak peek of what would come after this era with a new singer. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, just like listen closely and like try to compare, and maybe you'll see what I'm talking about, maybe you won't. That's just my personal thought. And the last song on this album, Strong Closer, is the song Strike of the Beast. And like I said, with this album, you won't see me skip a song because this whole album just kicks you from the beginning to the finish. And I feel like with this last song, it's just a really awesome closer. And you don't see a whole lot of bands doing that, because usually they just like write the last song and they're just done with it. With this whole album, you could just tell that they took so much time into the writing, and it just starts out fast. With the other 2 songs I just got done talking about are kind of the slower songs, but they're not really slow when it comes to like the thrash side. It's just the more calm songs, and it gets back into the fast and then it ends. Perfect album for that reason. And that's the record review. If you want me to review more albums, tell me which ones, and if you think my opinions suck, let me know. Till next time, I'll see you guys later. Peace.